How do you maintain a high deen as a young man? Because that's going to be one of the hardest challenges, right? Especially with social media. We see online, we see all these flashy lives, we compare ourselves, and it can be so easy to get taken off of our deen. How do you stay on it?
It's a very good question. And I will say this is one of those things that I've had to battle with a lot over the past couple months. So, the main point that I want to get across is that it's about anti fragility. So, the thing is, if you build everything that you care about in this dunya, you say, okay, it's about the house, it's about the watch, it's about how people view me, it's about solely trying to impress other people rather than actually just living for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as well as living for legacy, which is one of the new things that I found myself diving a little bit deeper into, understanding that my influence has so much more impact than just myself. It's been a fight because I was so attached to the monetary outcome of what I'd be getting. So I set myself a goal to say, I want to be making six figures by this date. That is solely what I want to do. But I found that you can't cheat Allah. You can't cheat Allah's plan. There's no shortcuts in this game. There's no such thing as setting a plan and everything sticking to that plan because there's one of two things that happen. Allah will either, number one, give it to you when the time is right, or number two, He will only give you better. It doesn't go backwards, especially with rizq and barakah. And the main thing that's kept me on my deen above everything else is, and I'm going to be honest with this, it's a battle. Like it's a decision that I have to make every single day. It is trying to be as present as I can be, but on top of being as present as I can be, doing it for not just myself, doing it selflessly, doing it for the story, but taking the time and taking the time and attention actually, and putting it on actually being proactive with my deen. So many people act like there's a once and for all done method that you can follow and you'll always be on your deen. No, it's always about cycles. You have periods where you're on, you have periods where you're off. But while your deen may fluctuate, your aqidah doesn't fluctuate. And your aqidah is your faith in Allah. So while your deen may go, you may not be feeling you're on top of your prayers, you may not be feeling as spiritually connected. Your faith in Allah should still remain the same. And I think that's the key determining factor because I don't think anybody's always 100% on top of their deen. And if they say they are, I don't think they're being fully honest about it because we're human beings, bro. There's no such thing as being 110% on top of it, but it comes from intention. And when your intention's in the right place, when your heart's in the right place, and when you're resilient but also anti fragile by not being attached to this dunya, things work out for you in a way that you can't quite explain. You can never plan for how beautifully things will come through and how things will come into your life when you operate this way. For example, right now, Alhamdulillah, I can say I live the life that I wish I would have lived 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I used to be sitting there praying, like genuinely making dua, Ya Allah, please grant me this, grant me that, grant me that. I have the car, I have the financial ability, I have the physique, I have, I guess, the looks because I changed a lot in my appearance. I have the manners, I have the charisma as a person, and I can speak. I was never able to speak. I have all of these things that I wish I would have had before. But maturity and age have taught me that even if all of this stuff was taken, I'm the type of person who's building my character to be so strong and so undeniable that even if all of this was stripped from me, I would still fundamentally be who I am as a person, which is my heart, my intentions, and the story that I tell through living on this earth to serve Allah and the people that I love.
MashaAllah, bro. So what's the first step then, right? Because I think when you're, say your dean's down or you don't have anything going for you, right? Like once you
Yeah.
have things going for you, you almost get a snowball. That's what I noticed. Like once you've got a little bit of money or you've got some skills, the more things you have going for you, whatever it is, it becomes easier to be a better Muslim if you're around, good Muslims. It becomes easier to make more money if you already have money. So for someone who doesn't have anything, they're just fresh out of school. They got no skills. Maybe they're dean. They're not even praying. They want to. What is the first step? What is square one? What do they need to do?
See, it's a very good question because I was in this place just a couple years ago in 2021. I was off the dean, like literally, astaghfirullah, when I look back at it, in the moment I look at it, I'm like, okay, that was horrible. But now that I look back at it in retrospect, it's one of those things that makes me so grateful for the fact that I've been guided back to the deen and the fact that Allah is genuinely a very important part of my life. But the thing that really kicks you is almost that moment where you break. Like, genuinely, you will never change unless you have a reason to make change. That is the single truth. For me, it came from being angry. It came from being upset with myself. And through being angry and being upset with myself, I just realized that I didn't feel like sufficient with myself. I felt very detached from life. I felt very detached from the people that I cared about. I felt like nobody actually liked me. I was very egotistical at the time. I wasn't a very pleasant person to be around, which caused a lot of anger within me. But that anger was absence. It was the absence of truth. It was the absence of positivity. It was the absence of light. So for me, it was a lot of anger. And Allah really came into my life and changed the way that I view everything fundamentally when that happened to me. Now, a little bit similarly to you, I got pretty badly concussed when I was 18. So I it was like a cascade effect. It wasn't like horrible off the jump. Off the jump it was pretty bad. I couldn't remember a bunch of things. It was pretty severe. But only about 6 months later, I looked back at the entirety of my high school, primary school, a bunch of my childhood, and I realized so much stuff was missing. I just couldn't recall things. There's people who said they've known me from high school. I couldn't remember them. Primary school, I couldn't remember them. Family members, I couldn't remember them for the life of me. And it's sort of one of those things that was a little bit more gradual for me. But by the time that I turned 19, a lot of the old things and a lot of the old rage that I had within me, a lot of the old anger, a lot of the old emotions and bad memories that I had were gone. I just couldn't remember anything. Like, seriously, it was a blessing. It was a curse at the time, but it's a blessing long term because it rewired the way that I think, which led me to the position that I'm in right now. But if somebody wants to genuinely make this step, it comes from number one, realizing that you need to make change. That's the first thing. I'm pretty sure if you're listening to this, you've realized to some extent, or you're on your dean, or you've realized to some extent that you need to make some sort of change. After realizing and after actually taking accountability for the fact that you are exactly where you are because of your decisions and because of the journey that you're supposed to be taking, it's almost as if Allah comes and finds you and taps you on the shoulder in that moment. Whenever you're having that moment, it's actually crazy how Allah will come and tap you on the shoulder and say, look, here I am. And that's the most beautiful thing. Every single time I've been rock bottom, every single time I've been angry, every single time something hasn't worked out for me, it's always been like that tap on the shoulder, like gently, like, hey, here I am. I'm here for you. So, past taking accountability and past actually understanding you need to make a change, a lot of it comes down to just doing it. You don't find the passion for it and the love for it the first time that you make your namaz. You're not going to sit there and be like, okay, I'm going to make namaz and I'm going to hit my 5 salah every single day for the rest of my life. No, that's not how it happens. You start slowly, you take steps towards it. And as you start taking steps, you start getting used to it. As you start getting used to it, it starts becoming a part of who you are. And when it becomes a part of who you are, that is the final phase where you can truly say you have the deen within you. The deen doesn't come from what you say, how you dress. It doesn't come from the size of your beard. It doesn't come from what you preach out in public. It comes from what you identify with. And that's why I truly believe that you can't cheat yourself, bro. You can't cheat Allah. You can't cheat the journey. Just start step by step and just do it. You know you need to do it. And I heard this from Chris Williamson. I think it applies great. I think it applies really well to the situation. But imagine that your life is a movie. What are the people who are watching the movie screaming at the screen? What are they literally saying? Hey, serial killer around the corner. Do the thing. Leave the job. Do whatever you want to do. Like, what is that person screaming from behind the screen? And typically, you have a lot of intuition for what that is. And typically, you already know what you need to do. You just aren't doing it.
Mashallah, bro. It's I think the actions lead to the change of
Yeah.
behavior, and the
Mm.
change of behavior leads to the change of character, right? So it's like, say you want to be an early morning person. You want to be the type of person who wakes up for Fajr and you start your day right then and there. If you force yourself for 30 days to do it and not enjoy it at all, you're just, I'm going to do it no matter what. Have the accountability with yourself to do it no matter what. You force yourself to wake up, pray Fajr, and start your day. After 30 days, you will have built a new behavior where you can now do that. You still might not enjoy it, but you can do it without like having these barriers trying to hold you past. And then you've built the behavior, what will happen is like 45 days in, you'll start to associate your character as I am this type of person. I am the type of person who prays my five salah. I am the type of person who wakes up, prays Fajr, starts my day.
Yeah.
It's a very valuable thing. I think people think they need to wait for motivation. They think they need to wait to feel perfect. And they're like, oh, why is my iman down? I feel bad. I feel like I don't have a connection with Allah. But then they're like not doing any of the actions. So I've noticed, like, if I'm going to take an antidote from my life, whenever I make a consistent habit to routinely consume Islamic content, as just part of my routine, I then trickle see like 7 days later that the connection side feels stronger,
Yeah.
right? Versus if I was sitting around waiting, where's the connection? Where's the connection? It's also like we can take a worship stance on this. Do you worship Allah through your connection, or do you worship Allah through doing good deeds, through praying, through doing things that are obligatory, right? So it's like, okay, if you're trying to raise your iman, maybe do the first step, which is do the obligatory things, do the things that are worshiping Allah. And
Yeah.
another interesting thing on that is you build selflessness. And when you're selfless, there's a lot of interesting studies out there about how people who are very selfless tend to be the happiest people out there, people who aren't focused on themselves. So it's like immediate when you start taking actions in your day, I'm going to do this for nobody else except Allah. I'm not going to the gym for myself, for my kids. I'm doing this so I have a strong body so I can represent Islam and be a good Muslim for Allah, right? He's
Yeah.
giving me this body. I'm not taking it for granted. Yes. Couldn't agree with you more. And
One of the things that I just want to add in on that is I think people have this false conception of how beautiful Salah, Islam, everything is. Because if you just realize like how much Allah loves you and how much He has blessed you and how much He wants to give you, that's one of the things that just makes me sit there and go, like, wow. Because there's moments, and I try to do this often, where I'll go to the masjid and I'll just sit there and I'll genuinely just try and be present in the moment. And you're going to notice, rather than only focusing on going in for namaz and seeing people afterwards, or rather just walking in and walking out, when you actually just sit there for a moment and just be grateful for what you have, that changes things very, very drastically. But another huge thing for me is when you go to the masjid and you know people there, that's one of the things that just pulls you back in. Like it's absolutely crazy, but while you can keep yourself accountable, find somebody who's that Islamic friend. Like we all know the dude. We've all met some dude like that. Just that dude who is so positive all the time, who has that brotherly love for you. I can't explain it, and it's a concept that I can never explain to people. But you just know, like certain brothers in the deen, they hear about good in your life, and in the back of their minds, they're saying, I wish my brother even more. You know, Alhamdulillah for what he has, and I wish him even more. Alhamdulillah for what he has, and I wish him even more. And it's a two-way street that way. And those are some of the most incredibly powerful relationships that you can build. And that happens through the deen, that happens through mutual interest, that happens through selflessness. And it's just so, so, so powerful. I just really wanted to put that out there to say, if you genuinely go to somebody with the intention of giving them the best version of yourself and with the intention of improving somebody's day, you get back tenfold. Selflessness, gratitude, presence, everything. Allah loves you. There's no wrong in the way of, I'm not praying my namaz 5 times a day, so I don't deserve to do it. No, that's literally shaitan. Like, okay, I'm not the perfect Muslim, so I should stop practicing. That is the opposite of what you do. It is about realizing nobody's perfect. We live in social media comparison. It doesn't exist. That's the gist of it. It just doesn't exist. Nobody's perfect. Just keep on going.
And we always choose to compare ourselves to the people doing better than us,
Yeah.
and we don't choose to compare ourselves to the people doing worse than us.
Yeah.
It's like for example, we do this. I can't claim to be any better. I do the same thing. When I had 3,000 followers on Instagram, I was like,
Yeah.
look at that guy who's got 10,000. Right? Got to 10,000. Said, look at the guy who's got 50,000. Got to 100,000. Look at the guy who's got 300,000. And you never stop and go, Alhamdulillah, I have this.
Yeah.
How many people consciously go through the entire day? Alhamdulillah, I woke up.
Mm.
Alhamdulillah, I have a blanket. Alhamdulillah, I have a toothbrush. Right? And these things that we take for granted. And then our achievements too, the smallest. Alhamdulillah, I have a good job.
Alhamdulillah,
Alhamdulillah,
bro.
I had a healthy meal. Alhamdulillah, I got to talk to somebody I love. These simple things where people think they need to have had success in business or they need to have had an amazing marriage or had their first kid, these, grand achievements, when they don't realize the fact that they got to go on a walk with their brother for 20 minutes and get to look at a flower and get to hear a bird chirp and get to have the sun beat down on them. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, dude. So beautifully put. I couldn't agree more.
Now, the issue comes in when someone's in the dark place, they go, well, yeah, that sounds amazing, but I can't relate because they're going through whatever they have. They've got their struggles, they've got their depression. They're in this dark place where almost if you get advice from someone who's so far in the light, the advice doesn't get to you because they're too far away, right? So it's like if you have someone who's from a third world country living in poverty and they make no money, and someone's like, this is how you make $1 billion. They won't actually be able to get anything from that because it's too far away. So the same thing here is when someone's so far off their deen, and then they hear from, some people who are just totally on it, that brother at the masjid who's just so locked in. He hasn't missed a prayer since '04. And it's like they can't relate to that, right? So I would love for you to share because I know you were in university, you were out of shape, you left university full force, just like I'm gonna go figure it out. You got in incredibly good shape, mashallah. Like what was the journey like? Because I think people can more relate to where you were based on just now to where you are.
Yeah. No, it's very true. And look, the thing is, part of the reason why I'm really okay with talking about my story is because I was that dude. I was the dude who had no connection with Allah. So, for example, I grew up in a religious household. My mother, alhamdulillah, I'm so blessed to have in my life. She was so patient and tolerant towards me. She never lashed out at me. She never really treated me badly. She never held any grudges against me. She just made one dua. Ya Allah, please bring him back to the deen. And this was when I was about 16, 15, 16. I really felt myself trailing off the deen. No namaz, depressed, the fattest I've been in my life. That was when I was 122 kgs at my peak, 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 like fatness. Like, dude, it was bad. I had no connection with Allah, no priorities over myself, no discipline, no accountability to anything. And the thing that was going through my mind that entire time is I am a victim. That's what nobody realizes is that the victim mentality is going to kill you. So I was sitting there the whole time thinking, I'm a victim. I was always born fat. I have bad genetics. It's lockdown. Like, what am I supposed to do? I can't go to the gym. My life got derailed by lockdown. I don't get to do the things that I was supposed to do at my school because I really valued my high school at that time when I was around about that age because I was really interested in, I guess, impressing other people. And so in that moment, I was just such a victim to life that I never realized how much I already had. So, number one, just be grateful for how much you already have because you have so much that's been given to you. It, like, this may strike a few chords, but if you want to turn around and you just want to complain to me about the fact of how bad your life is, I don't think I want to have a conversation with you. I can't entertain conversations with people like this because you can't save the drowning man. He's just going to pull you underneath with him. Okay. I truly believe that you can help anybody and everybody, but it gets to a point where you just can't. You have to preserve yourself because these people are so victimized and they are in such a state where they can't take accountability for anything that's happened to them. They don't understand that it's about resilience. It's not about caving in. It's not about everything going perfectly. The only place where you start at the top is a hole. Those people typically give a bad name to the people who genuinely want to make the change. And I feel like on our end of the people who are a little bit more on the dean, we sort of group everybody into one category where we say, cool, the victims and the people who aren't victims, but the people who just haven't had the right circumstances, or the people who've been around the wrong crew, you're all the same. And we treat them the same, like, a shotgun. But I think it just comes down to speaking to people very, very specifically. And so I don't think you can get through the minds of the people who want to go ahead and complain their whole lives. You want to go ahead and complain? It's okay. You do that. But don't turn to religion, don't turn to Allah and say it's unfair to you because you have the opportunity to change. You just choose not to. That's an active choice you make. For the people that feel distant and want the ability to make the change in their life, if you're sitting and you're listening to that, number one, you've already made the decision. This is the step. This is You've already made the decision, and this is kind of just to remind you, like, hey, you know what you need to do. Realistically, you already know what you need to do. I was at a point when I was 16, bro, I couldn't read Arabic. Well, I grew up learning Arabic. I could read Quran. I finished Quran when I was 10 years old. At 16, I couldn't read Arabic, bro. It was so depressing. I was so upset with myself. What did I do? Picked up the Quran, tried to pronounce it letter at a time, started listening online. I'm only able to read Arabic now years later. I'm talking like almost 5 years later. I'm finally able to read Arabic properly, right? With the proper tajweed, and I'm finally able to recite properly. But bro, I was so depressed at that time because I thought it was the end of it. And so I started taking the first step, which was I'm going to start learning just how to. I'm going to start watching YouTube videos on how to read my surahs because I can't read Arabic anymore. And after that, it's starting to listen at the same time as trying to read and connect what happens where. And I was always too shameful to say this to anybody. Like I never told anybody that I couldn't do this. I think this is the first time I'm actually admitting it. But reach out to somebody, and the right people will help you. Like seriously, I wish that I just reached out to somebody who could have helped me learn Arabic a little bit faster because it's taken me years to figure it out alone. And realistically, I could have been a lot better, a lot quicker if I just actually numbed the ego and asked for help. But for me, that was the journey. Just learning slowly, relearning my surahs very, very slowly, learning about the deen, listening to an Islamic video here and there. Like I see a reel on Instagram, I'll save it and I'll go back to it when I'm feeling a little bit sad. I'll show up for namaz. Bro, I forgot some of the surahs that you pray in namaz. That's how bad it was. It was genuinely depressing. But through listening to a couple YouTube videos and just showing up for namaz over and over again and having that friend, that impact from somebody else saying, hey, I didn't see you at the masjid today. That was such a big driving factor. Such a big driving factor. So when I say, hey, I came from that exact position of being lost, not having anywhere to go from, being Muslim born, which so many people will look at you and say, oh my God, astaghfirullah, that's so bad. I'll tell you, hey, it's not the end of the story. You have the opportunity to change things around. Just take that first step. And you realize that the second that you take one step towards Allah, He takes two towards you. And that's how it always goes. He loves you so, so much, like so, so much more than you can ever imagine. And I get kind of emotional saying this, but He's always washed out for me in some way or another. He's always saved me from the really bad things that would have ruined me, right? And part of the reason why I'm just part of the reason why I show up to namaz and part of the reason why I show up so much is because I'm just so grateful for everything. He took me and he changed my life around. From being that kid, extremely overweight, no ambition, everybody hated him, nothing to do with his life, absolutely no accountability for anything, to another the person that I am right now. How did that happen? I took one step. He took two. I took another. He took two. I took another. I started jogging. He sprinted. That's just the way that it is. You do not realize that it's just about taking the first step. You can't institutionalize it, you can't systemize it. You just have to go, and it all works out so beautifully. I'll tell you, from now looking back at the journey, It works out so, so perfectly. You can't make it up.
And it's like the first step is the most important because if you try to start running, that's where I think actually most people fail. I don't think most people fail because of not starting on the first step.
Yeah.
I think they fail is because they try to go into a full blown sprint from being laid down, tucked into a bed made of chainmail, right? Where it's like, if you are not on your deen at all, and then you're like, okay, read the Quran 30 minutes a day, go to the mosque, 5 daily prayers in the mosque, this. And then you try to go full in. What happens is maybe you hit it for 2 days, but then day three comes around and you only pray 3 times. Day four comes around, you only pray once. Day five comes around, you're like, oh, well, I couldn't do it, right? So I might as well give up. And then they give up from there because they couldn't stick to it. They couldn't set their word in place and then hold to their word.
Yeah.
First, like if you take the baby steps, and this is obviously, this is advice based on not Islam on my side. It's like if you take the baby steps, you can build the habit to become a better person, right? So someone might be like, oh, astaghfirullah, you don't pray 5 prayers. But if
Mm.
we're going to try to give real critical advice to someone who hasn't prayed in 3 years, is the better advice to start praying 5 times a day immediately, or you're a sinning Muslim, or try to get your first prayer in. Try to pray Fajr every day. Just try to make Fajr non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And then next month, try to read the Quran 15 minutes before you go to bed.
Yeah.
Right? And then what happens? You stack these slowly. 2 months, 2 years go by, and now they're a fully practicing Muslim, right? Alhamdulillah. And they're fully practicing. Versus if you try to take that person who hasn't been practicing for 3 years and you shame them for, oh, you're only getting onto one a day, you're only getting onto two a day. So I think that's the worst way to do it. And it's that super fine balance, right? I've got to stay off social media because social media is going to tell you, oh, well, my version of Islam is you don't have to pray. And then the other side's going to tell you you're the worst possible person in the entire universe if you don't pray your 5 daily prayers. So it's like, stay off the social media, focus on the simple steps, which sounds like what you did.
Bro, I hate the halal police so much, but I can't tell you how important positive reinforcement is because I had two very different dynamics. I had people talking bad about me behind my back, people who I thought were my friends, talking about how bad of a Muslim I am and talking about how off the deen I am, and that's what I was known for. That one positive influence will change everything. That was my mom. She always told me, she was like, did you pray all five? She was like, no. Shaka, I usually go to the masjid. Are you not going today? It was like um, your thobe, like my actual thobe. It took me a long time to get my thobe back. But she said, yeah, your thobe, I actually just fixed it. Do you want to wear it? It's the little things like that. And I feel like as Muslims, the worst thing that we do is that we hit people with the hammer where it's not our place to judge. It just truly is not our place to judge people based on where they are. I truly believe that, at least. Where the halal police will come along and tell you, you're such a bad Muslim for not doing X, Y, and Z. But in reality, the day will come where we're all judged and you don't have a say. That's just the truth. Everybody's judged for what they have done and their life experience. And so you don't know what steps somebody's taking towards their deen. You don't know what somebody's doing behind curtains. They could be doing more than you. Never ever try and step out and boss people on what to do. And this is one note that I just want to give to the Muslim born people. We are held accountable with so much guilt. That's the main thing that they use on you. It's the guilt. You have to pray your namaz or this is going to happen. You have to act this way or you're not going to get married. You have to do this or else, which I believe is good because you need accountability, but it's not good when it comes to actually keeping people on the path. If we can operate from a place of abundance and positivity, like Islam is meant to, we would be a completely different, I want to say nation, but realistically, all of Islam and people turning away and people coming back, it would be completely different if we were all just abundant and positive rather than negative and guilt tripping people. Because that's not what it is. When Allah describes Himself, how does He describe Himself? Ar Rahman, the most merciful. The first way that He describes Himself is the most merciful. Who are we to judge people and not be merciful within ourselves?
It's a tricky fine balance though, because we're also told to hold each other accountable and hold our brothers and sisters accountable. And if we have no accountability, what happens is like
Yeah,
what we've seen with other religions. So I think it is such a fine, tricky balance. And what I believe is the best solution is you have the strictness, the accountability on the level of intimacy in the communities and the people who have the right to say that. I think where we get the issue is where it's non-practicing Muslims bashing other non-practicing Muslims, where it's like, okay, not making any assumptions about anybody, purely for reason of my point. Say you've got someone on social media, right? And it's a woman, she posts a video and she's not in her job. And then some guy who maybe prays his 5 daily prayers, but he smokes weed. He then comments, "Sister, where's your hijab?" And then someone comments on that guy's video, "Hey, why do you smoke weed? You're such a bad Muslim." And then that guy's got this thing. It's like we all have sins. Nobody is perfect,
yeah,
right? But if you get, it's not advice. I'm sorry. If you text someone who you've never talked to on social media and tell them what they did wrong, it's not advice. Yes, you can do it in the correct way, but it's a very fine balance. I think it's about knowing your place and knowing who you can give advice to and who you can hold accountability to. And if you want someone to be a better Muslim, if you see someone post something they shouldn't do, be very careful about how you say things and give positive reinforcement instead. So it's like, let's take the example. We've got someone and they post content and it's, I'll use the woman one because I always see non-hijabi women, they post content, they get bashed a lot. So let's say she doesn't wear hijab, but she posts music in her videos, right? And then she posted a video, no music, she's dressed modestly, right? Now you have two options. You can go, "Sister, where is your hijab?" Ask yourself blatantly, I do not care. I will die on this hill. You cannot say, "Oh, well, as a Muslim, I'm supposed to hold accountable." That is not going to help anybody. But imagine if you commented and went, "MashaAllah, sister, so modest. And I love that there's no music in this video. May Allah reward you for that." Think if everybody did that. Guarantee you 3 months she'd be wearing a hijab in every single video.
I agree. It's about the framing. It's genuinely about how you put things across to people, holding them accountable, but just being kind about it. Which is why I gave the brief example of like, hey, I didn't see you at the masjid. It's not about where were you at Maghrib. It's like, hey, I didn't see you at the masjid. It's not about like the hey, why didn't you go for namaz? It's the aren't you going? Or what happened? You usually go. That's the sort of stuff that's like the gentle nudging. It's like a hand that's soft but firm, where you understand where the boundary is. It's just not about bashing people.
Mhm. So how do we do this with our close brothers, right? So I look at it like this: if I'm scrolling and I see a guy who's posted video and is or was not covered, absolutely butchered the word. Get the point. And am I going to go comment on that guy's post? No. Now, if I see someone I know very closely post something they shouldn't post, how do I then go about being the right person, helping hold them accountable, helping them be good without turning them away from their deen?
I don't know if I would be the very best person to frame this. I'm not going to act like I'm perfect, but the one thing that I'm known for with my good friends is I show them a bit of tough love, especially with guys, because it's what I found to work best. And it's what I found to be the most honest. Where, look, I'm the type of person who doesn't lie about things. When something happens, I will point it out. I won't be rude about it. I won't be mean about it. Obviously, it comes down to your manners. You present things in the right way. But I'm still going to give you a bit of tough love. The way that I typically go about this, and I stand to be corrected. I'm standing here as a student saying, like, hey, this is how I personally do things, and this is how I personally hold my friends accountable, which has made my friends very, very close to me. The people who are close to me absolutely love me. The people who don't like me hate me. Okay? Because of how unapologetically authentic I am to myself. But the people who do love me tell me that it works because the way that I go to them is I just try and understand the thought process. It's not about bashing people, it's just asking them questions about what they're doing. Like, hey, I saw that you were actually doing X, Y, and Z. I just want to ask, bro, like, is everything okay? Or, hey, I heard somebody was saying this thing about you. What happened? and you get their response, you get their side of the story, and then from there, it's just walking through the thought process. Okay, so I guess what were you thinking? What is going through your mind? Why did you do that? Or what really made you think this way? And it's a very uncomfortable conversation. It's very, very uncomfortable. But through this, rather than telling people off, you're helping them come to the conclusions of their own. And by the end of it, people that I know and love will genuinely say, yeah, bro, you have a good point. I can see where I went wrong. I can see why I was thinking that way. I can see how I fell short in this way. And those are typically the type of people you want to keep as friends because they do it to me as well. When I screw up, people will be there to hold me accountable. Shakir, what were you thinking doing this? Why did you do that? Why did you go here? Why did you post that? Why did you say that? The way that you dealt with this wasn't as good as it could be. I heard about this thing. What happened? And when you can build a sphere of influence through just asking questions rather than telling people what to do, it's one of the tricks I learned from sales. But realistically, you get them to tell you the reason why and you get them to resolve it within themselves. It's the power of actually caring about people rather than wanting to be correct.
I love that. It always one of my most favorite Islamic lessons is to always assume the best.
Mm.
Right? So it's like in that case where you hear something about a brother, instead of going, "Hey, I heard this. Why'd you do it?" Versus the "Is everything okay?" I think that's the perfect thing. Brother wasn't at the mosque. Is everything okay? Right? You heard something. Is everything okay? Post
Yeah,
something. Is everything okay? You're coming from such a place of genuine caring.
yeah. It also comes from suspending judgment because I think what you said there was gold. We must always assume the best of our brother. Like, always, always, always. We have this way of judging people before we even know anything. So, for example, how many times have family fights happened because somebody heard through the grapevine that a family member was doing this? Or how many friendships have been broken because somebody else said that this person was backbiting on you? People don't like having the uncomfortable conversations and assuming the best of people. You don't know the full picture. The second that you actually try and understand things, and this is why I say it's the art of caring about people, it's the art of actually genuinely caring with your heart, you're going to notice that you get to the core reason why. And it doesn't end up being a battle where you're both trading punches with each other. It's a lot more wholesome where you're dealing with the problem together. And that, I believe, is the way to solve conflict, is the way to solve issues. It's the way that we're taught to solve things. We're not taught to fight people.
I love that. So you've been in business now for a little bit. One of your business partners is Christian, and you are Muslim. What's that like?
Bro, my business partnership with Mike is so beautiful. I will tell you, our religious differences aren't even differences, they're strengths. And other people may be hearing this and thinking, oh my God, like that doesn't make sense. Muslims, Christians. Well, no, because we work so well together. And the truth is, we are very open to discussing beliefs. It's not a barrier that we have between us. It's like, he'll send me something from the Bible. He will send me something from the Quran. Mike is a very learned person. The other week, he sent me something from the Quran and he asked me about it. I was mind blown. Like, we just have conversations like this. We asked me, Shaq, I actually saw this thing from the Quran. I understood it as this. What do you think about this? He'll send me things from the Bible. Shaq, I understood this thing. Like, what do you think about this? This is what I've been thinking about very recently. This is what I've read. And it's this conversation where both of us understand we're from different religions, but we use that to our advantage. Because in reality, having discussions about Islam and trying to understand some things from Christianity give me a lot more respect for Christians because Mike is a devout Christian. He lives by the book, like he lives by the Bible, down to his content, everything. He is so extreme. Okay, and I don't think I told you the story, but I hopped on a call with Mike about 2 weeks ago. He had a massive YouTube channel, 860K subs, posting Make Money Online content. My man hopped on the thing with me. He said, yeah, based on our conversation, I was discussing with my mentor and my conversation with you, I realized that it's not about flaunting your wealth in this world. It's not about trying to get people to come to you just because of the money you have, and that's always going to come back to bite you. By the way, I deleted every single video I have overnight. That channel is whacked. There's nothing on that channel. It's all privated slash deleted. He made this decision overnight. This was not a my business, my credibility. And on the business side of things, that is the worst thing he could have done because we had no business, we had no lead flow, we had absolutely nothing. We had no sales assets, we had no YouTube channel to refer people back to that had built trust. We had nothing. We had zilch, which is part of the reason why last month we didn't really hit the income that I wanted to hit. But I wasn't mad about it because he did it for a very solid reason, which was his faith. And I can back that. Like, I genuinely heard that and I was just laughing. Like, Mike, I respect you so much for this because this is incredible, number one. And number two is just proof of how much of a priority is for him. Okay. And so I have an admiration for him, I have respect for him, but he has so much respect for me. Where he'll come and say, Shaq, I find it so cool how you're so devout in your faith. Can you please tell me about this, this, and this? And we'll exchange stories that I've learned from the Quran and that I've learned through the Hadith. And he'll tell me things that he's learned through life in the Bible. And it's just this beautiful combination where we work perfectly in peace. Like, we're such a good duo because past our actual dynamics and past our energies, I'm a little bit more stern, he's a little bit more loose. Um, Even the time zones that we work in, like when I go to sleep, he wakes up, so I'll leave him stuff to do so he can work through that. And when he's about to go to sleep, I wake up and he leave me stuff to do through that. So it's really beautiful how asynchronous this partnership is just because of how much respect we have for each other. Religion is not a barrier, it is a common ground for us. And I think that's how we should handle cross religious friendships, where you can have so much respect for each other. It can be so beautiful. It doesn't have to be I'm better than you, because it's not. It really isn't.
So maybe then with your relationship with Mike or in the past, how do you make sure you don't get influenced? How do you make sure that you have productive dialogue with people who are from different religions, but you make sure that doesn't take you off your deen? Especially
Very
if you
good
have
question.
if you have a shaky faith, right? It can be very, very easy to get taken off.
Very, very good question. So I've seen two scenarios, and there's a hard line rule that I have, which is I only talk to people whose energy I can agree with and who are genuinely good people. I don't bother and discern myself with people who are negative for no reason, who want to fight for the sake of fighting, who want to prove you wrong. Because I don't believe that's a good use of your energy. We all have a limited amount of time in this dunya. Well, we should spend it doing the things that actually matter and with the people who actually matter. So, in the scope of negativity, I have very, very strong boundaries, and I'm not afraid to cut friendships and relationships with people who, for lack of a better word, just suck. Okay. Now, it comes down to the boundaries because in high school, I had a friend who was Christian, and he had this thing of, yeah, I respect you. And this was the catch 22. He's like, I respect you so much. It's so cool. But Christianity's better. But you should learn about the glory of Christ. But you need to understand that Christ saved you. You need to understand this, 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 and this. And I'm like, yeah, but bro, if you actually respected me, you wouldn't tell me that you're better than me. And he didn't have a response to that. He said, yeah, but I'm just trying to save you. And as your friend, I love you and I respect you. And I'm trying to save you from what. And I said, okay, so you believe I'm going to hell? And he's like, yes, I do. And I said, okay, so I don't think this friendship is going to take us very far. If fundamentally you believe I'm damned and I'm a horrible person. Because on the contrary, bro, I have respect for you and I believe you're going to heaven because you're a good soul. I believe that you're a practicing Christian, you do everything you're meant to. And Islam is a religion that promises, or the believing religions, that's the key word here, believing Abrahamic religions, salvation. Okay? And it's another thing that I have with another Christian friend of mine, where we have different points of views, but we don't cross the boundaries, where we will have a healthy discussion about Islam and Christianity, but it won't get to the point where we're literally saying, okay, but I think I'm better than what I believe is this and what you believe is wrong. It's always from a place of, okay, I fundamentally think this. I can respect how you guys say this, but I don't understand this. And the backward of that, or the response to that would be, okay, I see where you're coming from, but to me, this just doesn't really make sense. I see it as X, Y, and Z. And we believe this, we believe that. And that's a productive conversation because you're not crossing boundaries. It's not that idea of I'm better than you, etc., etc. And as Muslims, we believe that Islam is the truth because that's the entirety of what Islam is based on. The entirety of Islam is to say Every single time Allah has sent down revelation, the people were too ignorant, man corrupted it, and Islam is the final, truest message and it will never be altered. That is the entirety of that's the entire basis of Islam as a religion. So typically Muslims try to get too far ahead and try and say, yeah, but you're retarded because you can't see the truth. And it's like, no, they were raised their way, they have their beliefs. Don't try and change people. Come to it with respect, come to it with love, come to it with compassion. And you notice when you have compassion towards people and you have good boundaries where you're not believing that you're better than them, or you're not voicing that you're better than them at least, and you're not treating them as if they're inferior, that's where you can breed very healthy conversations. And you can start pushing conversations in different directions.
So Mike, your business partner, he built a Mike is just the best.
Such
He
a
built a
cool.
channel to 800,000 plus subscribers. He made millions of dollars. He's traveled to every country, had every luxury you want, driven all the supercars, all the fancy watches. And now he is in the Philippines, living on farms, wearing baggy clothes, devout, practicing his religion, spending time with his mom and dad. What is the biggest lesson you have learned from watching his transformation from online guru who could do whatever he wants to a humble man who truly I don't think I've ever met someone more humble than Mike?
I agree. I just want to start off by saying, dude, Mike is such a legend. Like, it, honestly, one of the most influential people that I've ever met. Number one, anti-fragility. The more and more you're attached to this world, the more and more it's going to break your heart when things in this world don't work out. If you attach yourself to things that are temporary, in essence, your attachment is temporary, and so your love for that is temporary, and so there will be heartache. Okay? Second thing, family above everything else. Mike will die on the hill of spending as much time with his family as possible. This is a boundary that he has, especially in business. He's traveling. There's no question of, hey, I can do this at this time. It's like, hey, I'm with my family. He does not do work when he's with his family. Never. Okay? Family above everything else. I have a slightly different perspective where I believe, yes, family above everything else, but I'm the type of person who loves work because I love the game. So it is a little bit selfish, but I kind of do it for them. And so it's led to this beautiful place where I've had to question my belief of work and family. But he's far on the spectrum of family above everything else. If I'm with my family, I'm not touching anything, bro. Like, you need anything from me, please reach out to me. I'll do it when I can. But I'm not going to be checking my messages like instantly. It's family. The third thing is separating yourself from the noise. He will go weeks, like days and weeks, without Wi Fi, without any social media, without any contact with the outside world, just living on a farm in the Philippines. He did that last week. I could not contact him for jack squat. He just said, I'm going to a farm. I won't have Wi Fi. I'm going to create some content because I feel like it. And that's what he's doing. He genuinely detaches himself from the internet. And I think even you told me, like, he's not checking your messages. Bro, he hasn't checked mine either. He's just doing his own thing. Okay. The next thing is, don't ever put money above your faith. Mike has his own story of how he learned this, but it's something that I've learned in a very potent way where whenever I make a business transaction or whenever I'm working with anybody, especially on the closing side, so many people will say, yeah, but you're leaving cash on the table. Yeah, but I'm not going to work with people if they suck. I'm not going to work with people if they have the wrong values. I'm not going to work with people if they're only money hungry and only want that sort of lifestyle, which just encourages them to do haram. Because if I coach them and I train them, I'm a vehicle in that. So, yeah, to some extent, I'm losing out on profit that I could make. But at the same time, I'm doing things the right way. Okay. Other things, another very big one from him that he did very recently is never try and put your image above your faith with Allah, or in his case, your faith with God. Where he said, a lot of the times we try and live life without glorifying God and actually living through God. Where the best example that we can set and the best standard we can set for ourselves is acting in the way that our future kids can look at and say, that's my dad. I'm proud of my dad. he has values that he's taught us, and these are the exact values that he pushes out to the world. So almost creating for your future kids, which is why in his content he creates, like, his hooks are usually to my future son or daughter, if you're watching this, and then he goes on with what he's talking about. And the last thing is, it ties into anti-fragility, but money just isn't everything. He's had it, but he has this incredible way of just being unfazed by money. It's just so incredible for me to watch. Because in a month where we bring in multiple five figures, he'd be like, whoa, let's go. In a month where we bring in much less, because we've had those months where we brought in very little money, he's like, oh, let's go. Well done. He's unfazed by money, bro. He's genuinely so unfazed by it. Um, and the final thing is keep things super simple. As a business mind, he is very, very good at stripping things down to only what needs to be done. It may tie into a little bit of him wanting to detach himself from business and work as much as possible, but he does not do complex. He just does as simple as it gets. I'm talking landing pages made in that look like they're made in Google Docs from 1999. I'm talking no discernment about automations and X, Y, and Z. I'm talking no worries in the world of exactly how he's going to put a complex system in place, which keeps me very grounded because I'm the opposite. I'm trying to build something that's never been built before. I'm trying to do things that nobody's ever done before. And it's kind of always this awakening moment where Mike's like, but why? And I always have to come back to being simple. So those are the main lessons that I have learned from him.
Thank you for your wisdom, Shaq.
It's his wisdom, bro.
That's it. I enjoyed the conversation. There's lots
Yeah.
of good value. Thank you.
No, alhamdulillah, bro. Thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure to be on, and bro, like, this was so sick. I really appreciate you because it's given me the opportunity to pick my brain as well.